Welcome to the U.S. Army G2 Deployable Vizwall Training video. This video will instruct you how to assemble and deploy the Vizwall system. We are going to start by taking an inventory of all the components numbered here. Make sure you have all the component transit cases before you attempt to assemble the unit, as you will need every item in that list. First, we're going to assemble the data wall itself. The data wall is contained in two transportable shipping containers, as you see here. First, we have to remove the top front covers, then the top rear covers, then the lower front covers. You must disassemble the units in this fashion, otherwise the covers could potentially fall into the container and damage equipment, or fall onto the floor and possibly injure a person standing nearby or damage other surrounding equipment. You need two people to do this. These are heavy units. Make sure you have some help taking them down and then putting them aside out of the way. You will not need those for the rest of the assembly. They will only be required once you pack everything up and get ready to ship it back out. Each one of these transportable shipping containers contains two monitors. The lower monitor is packed in front and is held down by secure straps. The upper monitor is permanently attached to its frame and should not have to be removed or otherwise handled. What you want to do is to make sure you have everything that you need and everything out of the way. The tactical tables are located in this shipping container. There are two tactical tables inside. They assemble kind of like your basic picnic table. The legs swing out, lock into place, and you're pretty much done with the assembly. Make sure you take out all cables and connectors that are included. You will need those later to interconnect the local area network switches within the tables and video signaling paths within the tables themselves. Again, it's handy to have an individual help you. The setup of this system is pretty much a two-man operation. Now we're going to remove the lower monitors from one of the containers. You undo the security strap, and then two people again gently lift the monitor out from the shipping container. Take the monitor and place it on one of your tactical tables, as this is a handy place for it to rest, while you remove the protective end caps and get it ready to be mounted in the system. Note that there are two end caps, one on each end. In this case, one of the end caps got wedged and stuck inside the shipping container. Make sure you have both of them out of the shipping container before you mount the monitors. As you can see in the video, I am now removing the bottom protection cap from the monitor that got stuck in the bottom of the shipping container. That item is a shelf that is put onto the unit once it's completely assembled. There are a number of knobs that secure the upper monitor in place on the frame. First, you get any cabling that's in there out of the way, and then loosen all of the security knobs on the vertical frame. Ultimately, there are 6 total. Once you loosen the knobs, there is a locate the handle inside the frame and pull it upwards. This will release the sliding frame from its lockdown position. With the help of a second person, gently lift the frame upwards as far as it will go. It has a pneumatic assist, so it won't require much effort to lift the monitor up. Pull out the locking pins, and the second stage of the monitor will go up. Once you release the locking pins, the upper monitor will rotate into a horizontal position. Tighten back up all the knobs to secure the upper monitor fully extended on its mount. The locking pins will lock back into place once the upper monitor is rotated into its horizontal position. Here we see the monitor with both end caps, protective end caps installed. They're secured on by straps. You would remove the straps and gently pull the end caps, protective end caps, away from the monitors. There you see me pointing out one of the DVI connections. And that's where one of the DVI video input cables will go. There are 4 mounting posts on the back of the frame. These 4 mounting posts correspond to mounting holes in a bracket on the monitor mount, as shown in this photograph. The 4 mounting posts will fit into these mounting holes, drop down, and 2 locking tabs lock the lower monitor in place. Again, using 2 people, pick up the monitor gently by the handles, make sure it is facing right side up, and then insert the locking pins into their corresponding holes in the bracket, and make sure you flip these security locks up into place to lock the monitors onto the brackets. Make sure all of the knobs at this point are tight. At the bottom, loosen the upper 2 knobs, and then slowly and gently pull the upper monitor down until it meets with the top of the lower monitor. Then go back and resecure the locking knobs. Next thing you do is you find the hole, locate the holes on the back of the frame, and install the bracing bar. There are 2 holes on either side. The bolt heads fit into the holes, and then you turn around and secure one side, and using the handles that are supplied with the monitors, pull the 2 monitors together, and then secure and tighten the other 2 knobs on the other side of the bracing bar. Finally, make sure all of the knobs are snug and the bracing bar is installed. Instructions on how to install the bracing bar are located right on the back of the bracing bar. Once the data wall is assembled, this is what it looks like in the back. The monitors are numbered. They shall be numbered to go on in order. It is going from top to bottom. Monitor 1 on the top. Underneath that has to be monitor 3. And to the left of that, looking at it from the rear, monitor 4 is below monitor 2. This is looking at it from the rear. Next, we're going to take the cables, which are located in one of the shipping containers, and we're going to connect them. The lower monitor, the cable for the lower monitor gets connected to a DVI jack that is attached to the edge of its mounting bracket, as shown here. The cables are also likewise labeled. The cable for the upper monitor is a little bit more difficult. That is installed to the bottom of the monitor. It gets connected to the innermost, the one facing the one furthest away from you, DVI jack on the top monitor. There are 2 there. There's one that's outer, closer to the back of the monitor, and one that's inner, closer to the front. You want to make sure the top monitor is plugged into the inner jack on the top monitor on both left and right monitors. Take the cables, then pull them through the cable outlet, snake them and pull them through the cable outlet at the bottom. Make sure all the cables are then neatly tucked away so nothing gets caught or nobody trips, so it doesn't represent a tripping hazard. All of the video cables have thumb screws that need to be tightened down. Finger tight, doesn't have to be really tight. Just make sure once you install the video cables that you tighten these thumb screws down finger tight so they don't fall out while you're snaking the cables through and connecting the rest of the system. Next, we're going to uncrate and configure and set up the data wall controller. This is in transit case number 1. Remember, there's a vacuum vent on the transit case. Make sure you bleed the air out of it by pushing a little button. It's on the side of the case to release any vacuum that is built up into the case. Otherwise, the front panels may be impossible to remove, and this is especially true if the data wall controller transit case has been shipped via air freight of any kind and there's an air pressure differential. We'll remove the front and rear covers. And on the front cover, as you noted, there was a little pouch and has a keyboard, a mouse, and other accessories in there. You don't really need them at this point in time, but they're there for future use. It's also a handy place to put other things that you might be bringing with you. The rear panel has a connection diagram. It's attached to the rear panel, and there's 2 sheets. Sheet number 1 and sheet number 2. They detail exactly how the unit should be cabled with cable numbers and diagrams to where pretty much everything gets connected. It is an exact representation of the back panel of the unit. Here I am connecting the 2 of the video cables from the data wall controller back to the data wall itself. Again, you have thumb screws on this ends of the cables. Once the cable is seated firmly, just gently tighten up the 2 thumb screws so the connectors don't fall out. Next, we're going to assemble the speakers. This is the transit case for the speaker tripods. Again, in this case, the instruction sheet on how to assemble the tripods is attached to the case right within the front cover, as you can see there. Tripods are held down by security straps. Undo the security straps and remove the 2 tripods. There are a pair of them in there for the 2 speakers. The tripods pretty much deploy the standard way. Legs flip out. Make sure they're fully extended. Tighten up the locking nut. Once you got them level on the floor. We cheated a little bit here. As you can now already see, the data wall is up and running. This part of the video was taken after the whole system was pretty much put together except for the speakers. So please ignore the functioning data wall in the background of this image. You aren't supposed to see that yet. And the tripods in this case are fairly lightweight, as you can see. The speakers are also fairly lightweight. 2 people are not necessary for this portion of it, but never hurts. Goes quicker. The speakers are located in their own transit cases, shown here. transit case comes on wheels. If you want to lift that transit case up and roll it around, it is pretty heavy. So to get that transit case, you can roll it, but to lift it, it's going to require 2 people. There are 2 speakers in the transit case with all the cables that are required to connect them. At this point, there's an insert that you pull out of the tripod and you move it out, and then there is a corresponding socket on the bottom of the speaker that this insert will now plug into. Loosen up the thumb screw on the back of the speaker. Make sure that's loose first so it doesn't get in the way. And then you take the insert and plug it into the bottom of the speaker. Give it a couple little twists. Make sure it's nicely firmly seated in there. It is a tight fit. Once it's inserted, then finger tighten. You don't have to get it tight, really, really tight. Just finger tighten the locking thumb screw in the back. At that point, you put the other end of the insert in the top of the tripod, and there are 2 pins with corresponding holes in the tripod. You just line up the pins, the locking pins with the holes until they pop out, and your speaker is assembled. Here's a close-up shot of how those pins and holes line up. There you go. Then it's to connect cables. You plug in the power cable. The other end of the power cable goes to one of the power strips on the back of each monitor transit case. You plug in the audio connector, and you plug it on the one on the left, not the one on the right, and you plug the other end into the corresponding speaker inputs or speaker outputs on the back of the data wall controller. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to unpack and set up the control PC for the data wall controller. It's a notebook computer, Panasonic Toughbook. It comes in its own little carrying case. That carrying case is located within one of the transit cases marked number 6. It'll either be in 6A or 6B. Contains a Panasonic Toughbook, its power supply, and software, CDs, and like. And also the local area network cable that we need to connect from the local area network port on the back of the PC to the local area network connector on the back of the data wall controller. There's an AC outlet right on the front of the data wall controller transit case. You can plug the power supply for the laptop into that outlet, and then plug the power pack's power supply into the computer. Then you will take the local area network patch cord, plug it from the local area network connector on the back of the PC over to the local area network connector on the data wall controller. Once that's done, we make sure we power everything on, the 2 power strips on the back of the 2 monitors, the power switch on the data wall controller, power up also the PC. You'll see the lights flash on the audio switch. You'll see the power indicators come on. Turn on the Vizwall Vision Plus data wall controller. And if everything is connected properly and plugged into power and turned on, you will see the boot up sequence start on the data wall itself. And as long as you have everything cabled properly, your opening logo should look like this. Complete picture. It shouldn't be broken up. It shouldn't have one corner on the wrong monitor or different corners on different monitors. That's the way it's supposed to look when it's all set up. Then we can turn around and we can we can open up the control point software on the control PC for the data wall controller. It's an icon located right on the desktop. Just double click the icon and the setup screens for the data wall controller will appear. At this point, you use the software to select inputs that you have connected from other PCs, workstations, or devices, and you assign video windows to them. You will see a representation of your data wall right there on the PC. You see the canvas and the separation for the 4 different individual monitors. They correspond to the monitors on the screen, numbered 1, 2, 3, and 4. And those numbers correspond to the labels on the back of each monitor to make sure you have them located in the right place and the cables going to the correct places. At this point, you would turn around and open up, create a DVI window for a PC or a VGA input. You select it from the menu. And once you create it, it'll appear on the screen. Now at this point, we don't have anything at the input of that window, but it'll show you where whatever input that is assigned to that window, where I just assigned the window to it, it'll say, okay, I'm looking at this input. This is what is on that particular input from one of your sources, and this is where the window is in relationship to the large data wall screen in the background. These windows could be moved anywhere you wish on the canvas of the 2x4 data wall. They can be moved anywhere. They can be resized to any position just by clicking, dragging, and dropping. They can span multiple windows. They can take up the entire screen if you wish, all by setting up the proper commands in the software. The detailed commands on how to use this software are provided with you with the manufacturer's documentation. This instructional video is way too brief to be able to get into all the features and options that are available to you. Just to you know that you're able to name windows, you can add titles to them, you can resize them, put them anywhere on the screen. They can be layered one in front of the other, one behind the other. The snapshot of what is on a particular input that's assigned to a window will always show up in the representation on the software. This is what the big screen looks like. We haven't opened a window up on it, but as this will relate exactly back on the software. Again, the displays are numbered. As we showed before, we opened up a window on the software, and you'll see the window pops right up on the main screen there. Once I turn around and I say this is what I'm going to have as the source, it shows up on the representation within the little thumbnail. As you can see, even since I'm looking at the output of the control PC, I can see the control PC's window and the little snapshot of what's on that window right within the actual data wall itself, or on the input. As you can notice, before I was moving those windows around to different locations and resizing them. This is how it looks on the full screen of the data wall. Again, you can see the representation of the data wall in the window that's on the screen because I'm looking at the output of the control PC. So you can see where I'm moving the window on the canvas, and you can see that the image is moving to those locations. Of course, you won't have, once you take possession of the unit, you won't have the tape and the protective screens. This is the screen, this is the interface for controlling the audio switcher on the PC if you wish. You can also control the audio PC to switch audio to the speakers from any source via the front panel of the matrix switcher. It's located inside the same transit case with the data wall controller. In this instance, it will show you all of the 16 inputs and the 2 outputs that are relevant to this installation. And by selecting one of the inputs which correspond to the 16 inputs that are available, you can turn around and select an input, then select an output, and it will make the audio connection as you so desire. Here we're showing the screen from the notebook on the large data wall. So we click there, and you can see the line that says OK, that's temporary click. Do enable, and then the line becomes from dotted solid means it's actually connected. This dotted line means this is what you would like to connect, but it's really not connected until you hit that enable button. To disable it, you just click on the input or the output, click disable. Again, there's detailed documentation provided to you from the manufacturer for using the audio switcher. It is suggested that you read and follow those instructions for more detailed information on how to fully utilize that particular feature of the deployable Vizwall system. At this point, what we have is we have the PC, Control PC screen shown full screen across all 4 monitors with actually the windows of the applications of the Control PC as they show up on the Control PC's LCD screen. Here we just opened up a browser window, made it full screen on the PC, Control PC at the bottom as you can see there, and at the top you can see YouTube is running. And this concludes the instructional video for the deployable Vizwall system. This concludes the training video. Training video. Training video. Training video.